what the Biden-Putin summit means for Ukraine. President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to meet next week in Geneva. The meeting will come as part of Biden's first overseas trip, which opened with President's participation at the G7 summit on Friday, and also will include his attendance at the June 14 NATO summit in Brussels. The summit could offer a venue for potentially productive discussion on select questions of strategic stability to find common ground on nuclear arms control issues. Nevertheless, Putin and Biden are expected to air a wide range of foreign policy disagreements. Though the full summit agenda is unknown, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki previously confirmed that the discussions will include recent developments in Belarus and Ukraine. Earlier this week, Putin issued a dire warning to Kyiv over Ukraine's NATO membership prospects. At least 50% of Ukrainian residents don't want entry into NATO, and these are smart people, he said on Russian state TV, noting that the proliferation of NATO strategic and tactical weapons systems so close to Russia's border poses unacceptable risk and is viewed in Moscow as a red line. They understand they don't want to wind up on the firing line. They don't want to be bargaining trips or cannon fodder, Putin added. These are among Putin's toughest comments yet on the question of Ukraine, pointing to renewed fears in Moscow over Kyiv's NATO ambitions. Ukraine's NATO membership prospects remain exceedingly slim, but Putin noted no one is saying no. There are formal restrictions, but there is no guarantee that Ukraine will not enter NATO. While Putin and others in Moscow feel that Ukraine is being groomed by the West as some kind of antidote of Russia, some Ukrainian allies tacitly fear an opposite outcome, namely that Kyiv could be thrown under the bus as part of a bigger deal between Putin and Biden. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that he learned from the news that Washington decided to waive sanctions on the company overseeing construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Blinken explicitly rebuffed Zelensky's suggestions at a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing on Tuesday. For the record, we did share with our Ukrainian partners our intentions when it came to the pipeline, and maybe that information didn't get directly to President Zelensky. It certainly should have. Zelensky added that the White House had not yet consulted with him, suggesting a face-to-face meeting with the U.S. President prior to the summit. Several days following the Asia's interview, a subsequent White House press release did not indicate that the topic of the Biden-Putin summit was directly broached, nor does it seem that Biden offers Zelensky any concrete assurances, promises, or concessions beyond Washington's generic, non-binding commitments to the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Nevertheless, not much is likely to change in the short to medium term. Both the Kremlin and the White House have set a low bar for the upcoming summit, which is not expected to yield any substantive agreements or major policy changes. Ukraine will continue to be a major source of contention between Washington and Moscow for the foreseeable future. Whether or not the summit can plant the seeds of constructive dialogue on specific issues, particularly in finding a real solution to the ongoing Donbas conflict, which has lasted longer than the Second World War and caused thousands of lives on both sides, remains to be seen.